People always tell you, be positive. It sounds nice, sounds inspiring. But let's be honest, sometimes life feels like it's throwing bricks at you, not flowers. Sometimes you wake up with the weight of the world pressing down on your chest, your plans fall apart, people disappoint you, opportunities slip away. And in those moments, the idea of being positive feels like asking someone drowning to just swim harder. But here's the truth most people miss. Positivity isn't about ignoring reality. It's not pretending everything's perfect while your world is on fire. It's not smiling when you feel like breaking down. Positivity is the decision to direct your mind towards solutions instead of problems, toward possibilities instead of limitations. It's the choice to take control of your perspective before your perspective takes control of you. Think about it. Your mind is a lens, and that lens can either be clean and focused, letting in light and clarity, or it can be cracked, clouded with fear, anger, and doubt. When you choose negativity, that lens distorts everything you see. You stop noticing opportunities. You miss the good moments. You turn small challenges into massive monsters in your head. But when you choose to be positive, you start seeing the stepping stones hidden inside the obstacles. The world won't stop throwing chaos at you. You don't get to pause the storms, but you do get to decide who you're going to be inside that storm. You can be the person who panics, complains, and waits for someone else to fix it. Or you can be the person who plants their feet, steadies their breath, and looks for the way through. So I'm not here to tell you to just smile and magically feel better. I'm here to challenge you to take ownership of your mind, to discipline yourself, to find the lesson when life hits you hard, to choose the words you speak to yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. I'm here to push you to stop letting circumstances dictate your attitude, and instead let your attitude dictate how you handle circumstances. And if you commit to that, if you truly understand that being positive is a skill you build, not a mood you wait for, then no matter what's thrown at you, you won't just survive, you'll win in ways most people can't even imagine. Every single thing you do in life begins first, in your mind. Before you speak, before you act, before you even take that first step, there's a thought that sparks the action. That means your reality isn't built from the outside in. It's built from the inside out. And if your mind is poisoned with negativity, with self-doubt, with fear, then everything you build will reflect that poison. On the other hand, if your mind is trained to look for possibilities, to focus on what's in your control, and to see opportunity and challenge, then you create a reality that reflects those same qualities. This is why people can live in the same city, work in the same building, even face the same crisis, and yet have completely different experiences. One person sees a dead end. The other sees a detour that might lead to something better. It's not that the second person had a smoother path. It's that their mind was trained to process the situation differently. Your thoughts are filters, and those filters either block possibilities or let them through.
Think about a photographer.
They can stand in the same spot, point the camera at the same subject, and yet by changing the lens, they can capture something completely different. That's exactly how your mind works. If your mental lens is cracked with bitterness, every moment looks darker. If your lens is fogged with fear, every opportunity looks like a trap. But if your lens is polished with gratitude, determination, and perspective, suddenly you see angles and beauty that others miss. The challenge is that your mind doesn't automatically choose the best lens. In fact, your brain is wired for survival, not happiness. It's designed to notice danger, to anticipate problems, to scan for threats. That's great when you're in a jungle avoiding predators. But in everyday life, that survival wiring can keep you stuck in a loop of worry, criticism, and doubt. This is why being positive isn't just about saying nice things. It's about rewiring your mental habits, so your natural reflex is to see what's possible, not just what's wrong. It starts with the words you speak to yourself. Most people don't realize how much their internal dialogue is shaping their external reality. If every day you tell yourself, I'm tired, I can't do this, nothing ever works out for me, you are literally instructing your brain to look for evidence to confirm those statements. And the brain is an excellent detective. It will find proof to make your thoughts true. But when you start telling yourself, I can handle this, I will find a way, something good can come from this, You give your brain a different mission. It starts scanning your environment for resources, solutions, and silver linings you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. It's not magic, it's neuroscience. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system. Think of it as the mental gatekeeper. It decides what information to focus on and what to ignore. And the commands you give it come from your thoughts. If you're constantly focused on problems, it will filter the world so you mostly see more problems. If you focus on solutions, it will filter the world so you notice paths forward you didn't see before. Now, shaping your reality with your mind doesn't mean you won't have bad days. It doesn't mean you'll never feel angry, sad, or afraid. Those emotions are part of the human experience. The difference is that you don't let those emotions control your decisions or your vision. You acknowledge them, but you refuse to give them the steering wheel. One of the most powerful examples of this is in sports. Two athletes can be down by the same score in the final minutes of a game. One lets the pressure and fear of losing eat away at their focus, and they collapse. The other sees the situation as a challenge, a chance to push harder. A moment to rise, same scoreboard, different mindset. And that mindset often decides the outcome. The same principle applies to your life. You can look at a failed relationship and say, this proves I'm unlovable, or you can say, this is proof I deserve better and an opportunity to learn what I need to change. You can look at a job loss and say, this is the end of my career. Or you can say, this is the opening to pursue something I was too afraid to try before. Both interpretations are available to you. Your mind decides which one becomes your reality. That's why you must guard your mental inputs like your life depends on it. Because it does. If you fill your mind with negativity, constant bad news, toxic people, self-defeating thoughts, you're programming your reality to reflect that same negativity. But when you consciously feed your mind with uplifting messages, inspiring stories, empowering conversations, you're shaping a reality where you see hope, possibilities, and reasons to keep going. Every great change in history started as an idea in someone's mind. Someone looked at the same broken system everyone else saw, but instead of saying, that's just the way it is, they said, this can be better. I can do something about it. That's the power you have, not because the world will magically change for you, but because when you change your perspective, you change the way you engage with the world. And when you change the way you engage with the world responds differently. So if you want a better reality, start by cleaning your lens. Question the thoughts that make you feel small. Challenge the beliefs that keep you stuck. Replace the inner critic with an inner coach. And remember, your mind is the architect. It will build whatever you tell it to build. Make sure you're designing a life worth living. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to staying positive is that they burn all their energy trying to control things that were never theirs to control in the first place. They try to control what other people think about them. They try to control whether someone stays or leaves. They try to control the timing of opportunities, the way the world responds to their efforts, even the things that are completely random and out of reach. And when all of that doesn't go their way, they collapse into frustration, anger, and hopelessness. Here's the hard truth. If you want peace, if you want to protect your mindset, you have to learn the discipline of separating what's within your control from what's not. That is one of the most powerful acts of self-preservation you will ever master, because life will never run exactly how you plan. People will surprise you, circumstances will change without warning, opportunities will fall through. And if your happiness depends on controlling all of those moving parts, you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of disappointment. There's a simple test for this. Ask yourself, can I directly influence this with my actions right now? If the answer is yes, focus on it fully. If the answer is no, release it before it drains you. Release doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've decided not to waste energy on battles you can't win. You take that same energy and pour it into what is in your hands. That's where change is born. Think about it like driving in a rainstorm. You can't control the rain. You can't control how other drivers behave, but you can control your speed, your steering, your attention on the road. You can turn on your wipers, adjust your lights, and decide how you're going to handle the conditions. That's how life works. There's always rain, things you can't change, but there's also always a steering wheel in your hands. If you keep staring at the storm, you'll lose control of the wheel. Too many people sabotage their own positivity because they're obsessing over the wrong things. They replay conversations over and over, wondering why someone said what they did. They check social media to see if someone liked their post. They sit in meetings furious that someone else got credit. All of that energy could have been spent on building something better, learning a new skill, or preparing for the next opportunity. Instead, it's wasted trying to rewrite a reality that already happened. And here's where perspective changes everything. The things you can't control often end up being your greatest teachers. You can't control whether someone betrays you, but you can control whether you let that betrayal make you bitter or wiser. You can't control whether a job lays you off, but you can control whether you see it as the end of the road or the push you needed to start something new. The people who thrive in life aren't the ones with perfect conditions. They're the ones who master the art of adaptation. They've trained themselves to shift their focus immediately from why is this happening to me to what can I do about it. That's not denial. That's power. That's ownership. And when you live like that, positivity stops being fragile. It stops being something you lose every time life gets hard. Instead, it becomes a constant companion, even in chaos. Now, there's something you need to understand. Letting go is not weakness. It's strength. It takes far more courage to release what you can't control than to grip it with white-knuckled desperation. Anyone can hold on to anger. Anyone can obsess over someone else's choices. But it takes maturity and self-discipline to say, this is no longer mine to carry. I will not let this rob me of my energy. Think of your energy like water in a bucket. Every time you pour it into something you can't control, it's like dumping that water onto dry sand. It disappears instantly and you're left with less for the things that actually matter. But when you pour that energy into things within your reach, your skills, your attitude, your habits, it nourishes something real. It grows, it compounds, and it changes your life. One of the fastest ways to get this wrong is to let your emotions decide where your energy goes. Emotions will always tempt you to fight battles. You shouldn't fight. Anger will push you to try to change people who don't want to change. Fear will push you to try to control the future. So nothing surprises you. Guilt will push you to carry responsibilities that aren't yours. But the truth is, emotional reactions are short-term. They want instant relief. Discipline is what keeps you focused on the long-term win. You have to start asking yourself better questions. Instead of, why is this happening? Ask, what's my next move? Instead of, how do I make this person see my worth? Ask, how can I show my worth to the world regardless of their opinion? Instead of, what if it all goes wrong? Ask, what can I prepare now so I can handle it if it does? The moment you switch your questions, your mind switches from panic mode to problem-solving mode. And that's where positivity thrives. Because you're no longer a victim of circumstances, you're a creator of solutions. I'm not saying it's easy. You will have days where letting go feels impossible. You'll have moments where you're pulled back into trying to control the uncontrollable. But every time you catch yourself, every time you redirect your focus to what you can control, you're strengthening that mental muscle. And the stronger it gets, the faster you recover, the quicker you adapt, and the more unshakable your positivity becomes. At the end of the day, positivity isn't about everything going right. It's about having the mental clarity to focus on the right things. It's knowing where your power starts and where it ends, and refusing to waste your life in the space where it ends. Because the truth is, your life will be shaped not by the storms you face, but by how you steer through them. And that's something you have complete control over. Whether you realize it or not, the people you surround yourself with are shaping your mindset every single day. Your environment isn't just where you live, it's who you talk to, who you listen to, and who you allow to influence your thoughts. And here's the truth. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time around someone who complains constantly, and you'll start finding things to complain about too. Spend enough time around people who focus on solutions, and you'll start looking for answers instead of excuses. It's not about being judgmental or thinking you're better than anyone. It's about being intentional. You have to understand that your mind is like fertile soil. Whatever gets planted there will grow, whether it's weeds or flowers. The conversations you have, the attitudes you're exposed to, the way the people around you react to life, all of that is planting seeds in your mind. And over time, those seeds turn into your beliefs, your habits, and your expectations. If you want to be positive, you can't spend your life surrounded by negativity and expect to be unaffected. It's like standing in secondhand smoke and expecting your lungs to stay clean. It doesn't work that way. Eventually, it seeps in. You start adopting the language, the mindset, and the worldview of the people around you. You might not even notice it at first, but slowly you stop dreaming as big. You start doubting yourself more. You hesitate where you used to take action. That's the quiet power of influence. This is why it's so important to do an audit of your inner circle. Who are you giving your time to? Who are you letting speak into your life? Are they people who lift you up or people who drain you? Do they celebrate your wins or secretly resent them? Do they encourage you when you fail or use your mistakes as proof you should quit? These questions aren't about cutting people off for no reason. They're about protecting your mental environment, like it's the foundation of your future, because it is. Now, this doesn't mean you should only surround yourself with people who agree with you all the time. Growth requires challenge. You need people who will tell you the truth even when it's uncomfortable. But there's a difference between someone who challenges you from a place of love and someone who criticizes you from a place of insecurity. One wants to see you rise. The other wants to keep you small so they don't feel left behind. Learning to tell the difference will save you years of frustration. Here's something people don't always understand. Being positive is hard work. It takes discipline, and that discipline is a lot easier to maintain when you're not constantly swimming upstream against other people's negativity. Imagine trying to train for a marathon while living in a house where everyone stays up all night partying, eats junk food all day, and laughs at you for wanting to run. It's not impossible to stay focused, but it's a lot harder than if you were surrounded by people who value health and push you to do your best. The same goes for your mindset. If you're working on building positivity, but your closest circle thrives on drama, gossip, and complaining, you're in an uphill battle every single day. Eventually, you'll get tired. Eventually, you'll either start joining in or you'll isolate yourself. Neither of those options will help you grow. That's why you have to be intentional about placing yourself in environments where positivity is the norm, not the exception. Sometimes this means you outgrow certain relationships, and that can be painful. You may have people in your life you've known for years, but if every time you share a dream, they shoot it down, if every time you try to improve, they mock you, you have to make a choice, your growth or their approval. You can't have both. And while that decision might sting in the short term, in the long term, it will open up space for new relationships that fuel you instead of drain you. Seek out people who are not just positive, but productive. People whose positivity is backed by action. It's easy to find someone who will tell you to stay positive. It's harder to find someone who lives that advice when life gets messy. Those are the people you want in your circle. The ones who inspire you not just with their words, but with their resilience, their focus, and their ability to keep moving forward no matter what. And here's another layer to this. You also have a responsibility to be that kind of person for others. If you want a circle of uplifting, encouraging people, you have to be one yourself. You can't be the one who's always complaining, always focusing on what's wrong, and then expect to attract people who are focused on solutions. Like attracts like. Be the kind of friend, colleague, or partner who adds energy to the room, not the one who drains it. This also applies to what you consume online. Your company isn't just physical, it's digital. The accounts you follow, the videos you watch, the podcasts you listen to, these are all voices in your head, whether you realize it or not. If your feed is filled with outrage, gossip, and negativity, it's going to shape your mindset just as much as an in-person conversation. Curate your inputs. Follow people who inspire you, challenge you, and push you to think bigger. Replace constant noise with content that strengthens you. Over time, you'll notice something powerful. When you're surrounded by the right people, positivity starts to feel natural. It's no longer a daily fight to pull yourself out of a negative headspace, because your environment is reinforcing the mindset you want to have. Your circle becomes a support system that catches you when you fall, challenges you when you slack, and celebrates you when you win. And when that happens, you start to see just how much your outlook determines your outcomes. You'll take more risks because you know you have people who will encourage you even if you fail. you'll recover faster from setbacks. Because you've seen others do it and you believe you can too. You'll approach challenges with a different energy because you've trained yourself to focus on what's possible instead of what's wrong. Your environment is either a greenhouse or a graveyard for your dreams. It will either help them grow or cause them to wither, and the choice of which one you live in is yours. Protect your space, choose your company with care, because the truth is, you can't build a positive life in a negative environment. And the sooner you act on that truth, the faster your entire outlook will transform. Most people treat positivity like it's a feeling that shows up on sunny days and disappears when it rains. They think it's something that just happens to them, like waking up in a good mood or having an unexpectedly easy day. But that's why their positivity is so fragile. It collapses the second life throws something hard their way. The truth is, real positivity is not a mood you wait for, it's a discipline you build. And like any discipline, it requires daily practice, consistency, and conscious effort, especially when you don't feel like it. Think about going to the gym. You don't build muscle by working out only when you're already feeling strong. You build it by showing up even when you're tired, even when the weight feels heavy, even when it would be easier to skip the workout. That's exactly how positivity works. You don't just practice it when life is smooth and convenient. You practice it when you're stressed, when you're frustrated, when things are not going your way. Those are the moments that strengthen it. The problem is, most people think positivity should be effortless. They think if they have to work at it, it's not real. But that's not how the mind works. Your brain is naturally drawn to problems, risks, and threats. It's a survival mechanism. Left untrained, it will keep scanning for what's wrong instead of what's possible. So if you want to live with a positive outlook, you have to actively rewire those mental habits. And that takes the same kind of deliberate repetition as building any other skill. One of the most powerful ways to do this is to create daily habits that anchor your mindset. For example, starting your morning by intentionally focusing on gratitude shifts your brain into solution mode. Instead of complaint mode, writing down 3 things you're thankful for each day isn't just a nice ritual, it's training your brain to notice the good more quickly. Over time, you'll find that even on tough days, your mind automatically scans for something positive before it latches on to what's wrong. Another discipline is reframing challenges. Instead of immediately labeling something as bad, you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me better? What's the opportunity here? At first, this will feel unnatural. Your instinct might still be to complain or get discouraged. But the more you force yourself to reframe, the faster your brain learns to see possibility where it used to see only problems. That's the muscle you're building. And let's be honest, there will be days when your positivity feels forced, days when it feels fake, days when you're smiling on the outside but wrestling with frustration or pain on the inside. That doesn't mean you're failing. In fact, those are the days you're training the hardest. It's easy to be positive when everything's going well. The real work happens when you choose to hold on to perspective in the middle of difficulty. That choice, especially when it's hard, is where discipline is forged. Here's another truth. Positivity isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything's fine. It's about refusing to let pain dictate your behavior. You can acknowledge that something is hard while still choosing to respond in a way that moves you forward, instead of pulling you deeper into frustration. It's the same as an athlete playing through a tough game. They don't pretend they're not tired or hurt. They simply focus on the goal more than the discomfort. The discipline of positivity also means controlling what you feed your mind. If you constantly consume negativity, whether it's toxic news, online drama, or people who drain your energy, you're making the work 10 times harder. It's like trying to stay healthy while eating junk food every day. Discipline means curating your inputs so your mind is getting more fuel than poison. That doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you refuse to drown in it. And discipline is often uncomfortable. Sometimes it will feel like you're swimming upstream against your own emotions. You'll want to react, you'll want to complain, you'll want to let anger or fear take over. But discipline is about making the choice that serves you in the long run, not the one that feels easiest in the moment. It's choosing to focus on solutions when problems scream for your attention. It's choosing patience when frustration pushes you to snap. It's choosing hope when doubt feels safer. The truth is, the people we admire for their positivity aren't lucky. They're not living in perfect conditions. They're disciplined. They've built the mental strength to show up with a good attitude even when circumstances are far from ideal. And because they've trained themselves this way, they recover faster from setbacks, they adapt better to change, and they find opportunities that others miss. You have that same ability, but it won't come from waiting for the right time to start. It starts the moment you decide to be intentional about it. The moment you decide that your attitude is your responsibility, not something you leave in the hands of other people or random events. It starts the moment you stop asking, how do I feel today? And start asking, how do I want to show up today? And here's the beautiful thing. The more you practice positivity as a discipline, the more natural it becomes. At first, it might feel like you're forcing it. Over time, it will start to feel automatic. The little daily choices, focusing on gratitude, reframing setbacks, choosing your words carefully, surrounding yourself with uplifting influences, they'll add up. And one day you'll look back and realize that what used to be an uphill climb is now the way you naturally live. That's the payoff of discipline. It's not instant, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. Because when positivity is no longer something you have to reach for, when it's simply who you are, life's storms can rage and you'll still find a way forward. That's when you stop being controlled by moods, by circumstances, by the chaos around you. That's when you become unshakable. And that's the kind of positivity that changes everything. Every single person who has achieved something extraordinary has faced obstacles that could have easily stopped them. The difference is not that they had an easier path. It's that they refused to see obstacles as permanent roadblocks. They saw them as temporary detours, as lessons, as stepping stones towards something greater. That's the shift in mindset that changes everything. Understanding that every challenge carries the seed of opportunity, but only if you're willing to look for it. Most people meet an obstacle and immediately think, this is the end, this means I can't move forward. They stop, they complain, they wait for the situation to change. But those who live with a positive, unshakable mindset ask different questions. They ask, what is this teaching me? How can I use this? Where is the opening here? That doesn't mean they enjoy the struggle. It means they understand the struggle has value. They've trained themselves to look beyond the immediate frustration and search for what's possible. Here's the truth. An obstacle will either define you or refine you. It will either break your spirit or build your resilience. And the choice isn't made by the obstacle, it's made by you. You can let it drain your energy, feed your self-doubt, and make you retreat. Or you can decide that it will strengthen your skills, deepen your patience, and prepare you for the next level. Think about some of the most important lessons you've learned in life. Chances are many of them didn't come from easy wins. They came from failures, disappointments, and moments where you were forced to adapt. That's because pressure reveals strengths you didn't know you had. It forces creativity, it sharpens focus. It pushes you to grow in ways comfort never could. Sometimes the obstacle is external. Something happens that's out of your control. The deal falls through. The promotion goes to someone else. A relationship ends unexpectedly. In those moments, it's tempting to see yourself as a victim of bad luck. But if you step back, you might realize that those very moments open doors you wouldn't have walked through otherwise. Losing that job might be what pushed you to start your own business. That breakup might have given you the space to focus on yourself and discover your true worth. The setback might have forced you to learn a skill that later became your biggest advantage. Other times, the obstacle is internal, your own fears, insecurities, or limiting beliefs. These are harder to face because they require you to confront yourself. But even these internal roadblocks can be turned into opportunities. Fear can teach you where your courage needs to grow. Self-doubt can push you to prepare more, to sharpen your skills until you're undeniable. Insecurity can be the very thing that drives you to prove to yourself what you're capable of. The key is refusing to let an obstacle be the final chapter. You have to see it as a plot twist, not the end of the story. That requires discipline in your thinking. You have to catch yourself when your mind starts saying, it's over, and replace it with, this is part of the process. You have to remind yourself that every person you admire has faced moments where quitting seemed easier. The reason they didn't quit is because they believed the obstacle was a setup for something bigger. There's a mental strategy that works powerfully here. Reframe the obstacle as a challenge. A challenge is something you can engage with, something you can tackle. An obstacle feels like a wall. A challenge feels like a climb. And when you see it as a climb, you start thinking about your next step instead of staring at the height. That's when you find momentum again. You also have to understand that opportunity often comes disguised as hard work. It doesn't always look like a gift. Sometimes it looks like long hours, difficult conversations, or starting from scratch. But if you're willing to go through that, you'll often find that what's on the other side was worth it. Let's be real. This isn't about being naive. Some obstacles are painful, some will knock the wind out of you, some will leave scars. Positivity doesn't mean pretending those moments don't hurt. It means acknowledging the pain, but refusing to let it steal the lesson. It's saying, yes, this hurt. Yes, this was hard. But I'm not leaving this season empty-handed. I'm taking something from this that will make me stronger. And here's the beautiful thing. When you get good at turning obstacles into opportunities, you stop fearing them. You stop dreading challenges because you know they're part of the growth process. You start meeting setbacks with curiosity instead of panic. You ask, what will this teach me? What will this prepare me for? That shift in mindset makes you unstoppable because you're no longer dependent on smooth conditions to move forward. Over time, this approach changes how you see everything. Instead of seeing life as a series of problems you have to endure, you see it as a series of chances to get better, stronger, and wiser. You stop avoiding hard things and start seeking them out because you know they're where the growth happens. And that's when you realize something powerful. The very things you once thought were working against you were actually working for you all along. That's why some of the most successful, fulfilled people are the ones who've been through the hardest battles. They've learned to mine every experience for value. They've learned to take what was meant to break them and use it as fuel. They don't waste time wishing for an easier road. They use their energy to become better for the road they have. When you commit to this mindset, you take control of your narrative. The obstacle no longer gets to be the headline of your story. You do. You get to decide whether it's the thing that stopped you or the thing that propelled you to the next level. And when you make that choice over and over, you build a life where nothing can take away your forward motion. At the end of the day, positivity is not a feel-good slogan, and it's not something you wait for like the weather changing. It's a decision, a discipline, a battle you fight every single day, sometimes every single hour. Life is not going to ask you if you're ready before it throws you into the fire. It won't pause to let you catch your breath. It will test you, push you, and sometimes break you down to your knees. But in those moments, you have two choices. Surrender to the weight of negativity, or rise with the strength of a mind that refuses to bow to it. Being positive doesn't mean everything will go right. It means you will go right even when everything goes wrong. It means that no matter how bad the storm is, you refuse to let it pull you under. You take what was meant to destroy you and use it to build you. You turn every setback into training, every failure into feedback, and every pain into power. The truth is, your life will be shaped less by what happens to you and more by how you choose to see it. You could have all the talent in the world, all the resources, all the chances, but if your mind is poisoned with negativity, you'll sabotage yourself before you even start. And on the other hand, you could be handed nothing but challenges. And with the right mindset, you'll build something extraordinary from the rubble. So starting today, protect your mind like it's the most valuable thing you own, because it is. Be ruthless about what you allow to take root in it. Guard your energy. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher. And no matter how many times you get knocked down, never let your hope, your belief, or your vision for a better tomorrow be stolen from you. This is your life. No one else is going to live it for you. No one else is going to fix your mindset. And no one else can see the future you're building in your heart except you. So decide right now that you will not be a prisoner of negativity. Decide that you will choose courage over fear, solutions over problems, and faith over doubt. Because the moment you make that decision and live by it every single day, you stop waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel. and you become the light.